Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a fantastic Friday so far. Today, for the first time in a little while, we are going to be diving into Vechain on the back end of some pretty huge news coming out for VET. We're going to be doing a number of things in this video. We're going to be reminding people about what Vechain is to really start things off, talking about a lot of the news that is hitting the headlines and some of the updates that Vechain has had since perhaps we last covered it. Because there's a lot going on for Vechain. It's got a lot to give as a cryptocurrency market. I don't think we've seen anywhere near its potential. We're going to be diving into the price, of course, because it's a pretty ugly looking chart, but there's some good news on the back of all this. What we're going to do to very nicely couple with our Vechain analysis and where we think it could be going and where we're going to be looking to accumulate it at is really give you guys our thesis on Bitcoin right now and what's happening with it. For those of you that don't follow me daily, please make sure you go and check out my daily cryptocurrency market updates for some critically thought out, non-biased, reasonable content that's evidence-based, not just people comparing charts from whatever era and saying that they look the same, so they must play out in a similar fashion. But we're going to be giving our kind of overview on where Bitcoin is and what this could mean for VET, because I do envision more downside. I think crypto is in very much a confirmed downtrend. You can tell that from a basket of factors. Like I say, go and watch my daily cryptocurrency market updates. And I think Vechain is going to get very much swept in that tide. But in terms of a blockchain, why is it I'm looking to accumulate Vechain? And actually, in some ways, yes, my Vechain bag from where it was at 25 cents, I believe, is the high that it got to, or 28 cents, is, not underwater because of the positions that I got into it, but getting very close to that level. I still hold all my VET and will do into the future because I believe in this cryptocurrency, or certainly I think that this cryptocurrency will do well given everything that it has going on with it. People seem to forget that VET is the number one supply chain smart contract. Or supply chain smart contract, sorry, not supply chain smart contract. It's the number one supply chain crypto. They have partners with basically everybody, even the likes of the Chinese government that have been quite crypto negative. They're partnered with BMW, Walmart, McDonald's, I believe, and a number of other things in China. And they just seem to keep growing their user base, their adoption, and of course, working on the protocol itself with like layer one functionalities, which we'll talk about in this video, and a number of other things that we're going to discuss. So let's get into it all, guys. Let's probably start this video off by taking a look at where Vechain is. It's in spot number 37 for the coin market cap. It's currently sat at 5 cents, so nearly 6 times less than what it was at its all-time highs. And Vechain is a volatile crypto. I mean, this is nothing new for the sort of moves that we've seen for Vechain. And what I'll do is I'll put it on log. So we're currently going for an 82% reduction. This one, of course, was 64%. And by the way, most, at one point we'll talk about the charts in a second because there's some very interesting things taking place and certainly buy areas that I'm looking to get into it at. So it has certainly sold off, but despite that, the blockchain has never been in such an amazing and powerful position. The first bit of news that I have for you before we get into the big news is, of course, and this is really more of an update because many of you will already know this, that Vechain is working towards and has in some respects smart contract capabilities as a layer one blockchain. My understanding was that Vechain never set out to be a layer one. It's just an application that they found for themselves. And according to Bread VC, it's going to be the leanest finality overhead of any Nakamoto consensus chain, which is a big call. I'm not calling for that myself, but it could be a contender in the layer one race, and we're already starting to see certain things come online with their DeFi space. We know they have a stable coin, VUSD, and they're doing a lot on that side of things, regardless of, or despite, I should say, all the things that they've got going on a kind of supply chain basis. And this was just another interesting tweet from Sunny Lou talking about good to see more builders are having fun and makes my breakfast tasting even better. And it's talking about how Vechain, again, it's got another use case. The use cases for Vechain are far and wide in terms of being a supply chain. You can apply it to anything, or in terms of being, something that can keep track of supply chains and authenticity. And it's a huge market, the cat off its market, by the way, guys. Massive, massive market, and Vechain can solve a lot of those problems with verifiability that's backed by an immutable blockchain like that. So they're doing amazingly. This was some huge news. Vechain can be used as payments in 2 million stores and VET bridge to BNB chain. Vechain has made a series of announcements that look to sustainably grow usability and adoption of its native VET token supply chain blockchain project. Vechain has announced a new partnership with crypto payment services Alchemy Pay that will allow people to use VET token as payment in over 2 million stores throughout 70 different countries. This news came alongside its inclusion as a supported token on the recent launch of Binance Bridge 2.0. The reason that I'm showing you guys all of this before we dive into the technicals and show you some buy areas and what we think is going on is just to really highlight that this is a blockchain that is anything but dead in terms of the blockchain. We know the price action sucks, but again, I think this is a game of patience, in my opinion. You know, we know what's driving the markets at the moment. It's the macro environment and backdrop, and we've given you a lot of analysis on that on this channel, and it's definitely worth, you know, going and watching some of my cryptocurrency daily market updates to kind of get a good overview of everything taking place. So I still hold all my VET. Admittedly, like I say, it's down from your sort of 28 cents range. However, you know, I'm happy to hold it, stake it for VETHO, and keep accumulating over time. And I'm not DCAing into VET, but what I am doing is looking for some buy areas. So what I'm going to do very quickly is sort of explain where I think we are, my macro thesis on Bitcoin, certainly in the short term, which isn't really macro, but my short-term thesis for Bitcoin is that I do see more downside continuation. And we've looked at these long-term regression bands for Bitcoin, and we've also added the 50 and 200 EMA on the 3-day chart to really show you what potentially is setting up given where we are currently. And that's what I'm looking at now. If that happens to Bitcoin, you guys probably are all well aware, having been experienced in this space, that's going to mean more downside continuation, in my opinion, for VET. However, I'm very bullish on VET, which sounds very contradictory considering what I've just said. So short term, I think crypto's in for some volatility, and I think this is driven by the macro. Long term, I think VET and a number of other cryptocurrencies out there that actually have real staying power, real use and utility, like we previously mentioned at the start of this video, are going to do just fine, and they're going to really appreciate from the back end of all of this uncertainty. You know, crypto isn't going anywhere. If it was, it would have already gone, disappeared by now. Given everything that's happened, and we stress this daily to you guys, you know, crypto is the new thing. Right now, unfortunately, it's just tied in with the macro, and we've looked at all the correlations that support my thesis on that. So this is what I'm looking at for VET as a macro structure, is some sort of a falling wedge that we see downside continuation from where we're at currently. Now, what does that mean? Well, that looks, if you see this green box here, is where I'm going to be looking to start DCAing into Vechain for what I believe is going to be a further appreciation and potentially, and in my opinion, likely new all-time highs to come on the back end of this, which is going to offer a fantastic opportunity for many, those that are willing to sit through the volatility that the crypto space is currently going through. So this is a structure I can see happening. This kind of a situation where we make some sort of a low here, and then we start the ascent. And when I look at you know, this is what I'm looking at. And one thing I want to point out with Vechain, we'll take all the draws off. Please go and look at your Wall Street cheat sheet. They look pretty much identical, guys. And that's how I think this is going to play out, in a very similar fashion to that, where you're going to kind of come to a lower volatility stop. You can already see, and if you look at, and what we'll do is take this off. If you look at where Vechain currently is, it's forming kind of a base, but I still think you're going to make lows to it. So one thing that's always very common is you'll wick and point out the direction of a continuation trend, which of course you can see where we are today is where that wick started. And often it will take you a while to get down there with closes, if that makes sense. And there'll be volatilities to both the up and the downside on the way there. But this, you know, I'm expecting this support that we've currently got. And remember, this is all dependent on the macro market and doesn't have to happen to fail alongside Bitcoin. Not significantly, because we're already massively down and there's a liquidity issue with the likes of Vechain, but do something like this and come into this range. So really from the sort of 0.03 Cents range, 0.035 cents range. I'll be looking to start accumulating again heavily, ready for the future, because I don't think Vechain's going anywhere, or crypto. And I'm very optimistic in the long-term time horizon. Please go and look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, and you can see it's very applicable to the Vechain chart where it's currently at. And one thing that I love about the Vechain chart is when we switch it to a logarithmic chart, and we'll get rid of all these drawings. And if you guys just allow me to find my Elliott wave tool, and we have set out Elliott waves for Vechain before, but I think this is one of the nicest Elliott wave theory structures that we've potentially seen. By the way, I'm not 100% sure where this is going to bottom out, but somewhere in this range. I think you're looking at something like this, and I could still see Vechain certainly getting above and beyond. Not sure exactly where it's going to land. Could we get to $1? It's possible with the right conditions, but we could also fall shorter. This is essentially what I'm looking at, some sort of a larger Elliott wave theory. In fact, this is one of the cleanest Elliott wave theory charts that I've actually seen in the cryptocurrency space, looking at it now. Couple that with your falling wedge that I think you're going to break out of, that's what I think the future is looking like. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. Remember, hit that subscribe button. You won't get this kind of content anywhere else, or at least it'll be very few and far between. And that is really all I have for you in the video, guys. Make sure you give me a like and a comment, certainly if you've enjoyed it. And I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.